Good evening and welcome everyone for tonight's talk. And I've been out since this morning, 8:30. So I have really planned out so nicely. I was thinking that as long as I go out early enough, so I'll be back at the monastery at around 1, then I have a bit of rest, then I come to Nalamara to give a talk. But, life is just always that, out of control. Even I planned it so well, but it just didn't go according to my plans. And I ended up like, when I reached back the monastery at 5, and I quickly picked up my stuff. I have to come to Nalamara because I have an appointment at 6 o'clock. And there's whole day. So this is sometimes life. I've been reflecting on that. Sometimes we think that we are in control, but actually life is just completely out of control. Sometimes we plan, isn't it? No matter how hard, sometimes we try to do all the right things. Things still go wrong, isn't it? Like our projects, and it's sometimes, things always go wrong, and it don't go according to plans, isn't it? And we try so hard and try to do the right things. Sometimes even we put in 100% effort, we might not get 100% results, isn't it? That is not according to our wish, that whether we sometimes because of we plan and things doesn't work. And what's next? We started to have doubt, isn't it? Maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe we started to blame other people, the other person's fault, or we blame ourselves. And we start to have that, doubt, and then started to have this, we have to question ourselves, maybe you think, maybe I didn't do the right thing, maybe I'm not good enough. And slowly, we started to really worry about, in the future, things doesn't work out anymore, isn't it? And as a nuns or monks, we have sometimes people come to us, and we have counseling, and I see that people worry so much, from all age, even teenagers, they worry about whether they're going to pass the exam, isn't it? And there's people worry about whether they're getting a job or they lose their job. And we have someone they talk to me, they worry about they couldn't get a partner, And recently I saw an article that said in China and in Hong Kong, those girls when they are at the age of 25, they started to worry. Because this is how they plan out. They were thinking, 25, if you couldn't get a partner, for the girls, if you couldn't get a boyfriend, then it's very difficult that you can get married before 30. Because they have the kind of like, they want to get married before 30. So they say, I got to quickly get a boyfriend, age 25, so that, takes a couple of years to know each other, and then you got married. That is about times, that this is how we try to times, but we cannot control out of control, isn't it? The most Buddha's basic teaching, things happen according to causes and conditions. And sometimes it's beyond our control. The problem is we think that we're in control. Then we try harder and harder. Sometimes it's nothing wrong with us. Doesn't mean, sometimes that whatever we do, it's always there is a problem happen. That is part of life. So when the Buddhas got enlightened, the first teaching the Buddha gave, there is a Four Noble Truths. The first Noble Truth, there is the translation they use suffering, but I prefer to use life is inherently unsatisfactory. So no matter what we do, things is not going to be, we can't get things right, you see. We can do our best, we can try very hard. And maybe some people think that, so since you said that life is out of control, so why bother? So we don't have to plan, isn't it? So actually, it doesn't mean that we don't have to plan. We can plan things. It's just Achancha used to say, like you feed the duck, your responsibility, you just feed it, isn't it? Whether how fast the duck grow is not up to us, isn't it? We cannot control, ask the duck, come on, duck, come on, I want you to grow quickly. You cannot, isn't it? Things, sometimes we've been conditioned, we are so results oriented. We always look at the result. What are we going to get out of this, isn't it? When we plan something, we always look ahead. We always, go into the future rather than just spend, putting effort into this moment. This moment important, put in the causes and let the results, let things unfold by itself. Because we can, it's not that we cannot plan, we still plan. But if things not going to work out, it's okay. For example, like if we want to do something, firstly we have to have the motivation, isn't it? The intention to do something. So the attention arises, okay. Then we have to put into action, isn't it? The motive is there, intention is there, action. So for example, if we want to plant a mango tree, so we want to have delicious and sweet mangoes, so we have that intention. So after that, what do? So we try to collect a seed, isn't it? So we collect if we want to have a sweet mangoes, to get a sweet mango tree is a big. So we have to get a good seed, isn't it? Make sure that it is sweet, a good seed, isn't it? And then this is how, if we plan something, we have to go for it. We have to research and, and do all these things. It's not that we are not doing it. A lot of people, they swing from one end to another. They say, okay, since it's out of control, so I do nothing, I can't do anything about it. It's not. So we should do our best. So then we collect the seed. Then sometimes we might be someone might cheat us, isn't it? They give us those sour seed, and then they said this is a really good seed, and that is beyond our control, isn't it? Okay, even though we got a sweet, mango seed, then we planted it, isn't it? We plant it and we put in fertilizer, and then we have to make sure that we plant it in a right climate. So, some places are not suitable for this plants, isn't it? If it's not suitable, it's very difficult to grow, isn't it? So we have to say it's all the right thing we do. Then we plant it, and then we water the plant, and we water the seed, and it's grow, and it started to grow. Then we fertilize it, and we started to see this plant growing, and we are so happy. And so one day there is a storm. The whole thing's been damaged, the whole plants. So whose fault? Is it that you're not doing the right thing? Is it that something wrong with you? Is it that you're not good enough? It's not, isn't it? It's just that some of the things is beyond our control. But of course, the part that we can control, yes, we do our best. So because of that, we think that we're in control, and then we try very hard, and when things doesn't work out, and we think that it's wrong, and then we focus so much. For example, like sometimes just not long ago, where someone, just because that person, he lost his job and he committed suicide, and everybody said, oh, it's not a big deal, isn't it? Losing a job, you don't have to commit suicide. But why? Because of sometimes we focus so much on that, So because we think that it's so important, the more we think about it, it's manifest. And just some times ago, I read an article. They do an experiment. So then in the class, there's some students. So that they put a whiteboard in front of the students, and they put a dog, just on the whiteboard. And then they ask the student, what can you see? And the student said, the dot. And then they ask, can't you see the rest of the board? This is how we focus so much, isn't it? Sometimes we think that that's the end of the world. We fail our exam, and even sometimes ago, someone failed the exam, they commit suicide. And we think that, we think that this is a whole part of our life. So things doesn't work out. It's no big deal. That is part of life because we don't understand. We don't understand this is part of life. The Buddha said, no matter what you do, you can do our best. But things is not going to always go according to our, plans, our wish, We can wish, for it, and we can do our best. It's not that we have failed. And sometimes people identify when things doesn't work out, and then they think that they fail and they're failure and are not good enough. But because sometimes if we understand that that is part of life, so when things doesn't work out, it's all right, isn't it? So if relationship doesn't work out, it's okay. Or you can just become a monks or nuns. Okay, fine. No worries. No worries. Just and if we fail our exam, no worries. We take it. We take the test again next year. It's no worries. And if our boyfriend or girlfriend dump us and marry our best friend, it's no worries. It's fine. Because things anyway is going to go wrong, isn't it? It's out of control, completely out of control. It's normal. I remember today when we visited I have a meeting with our architect. So he said, oh, may I offer you a coffee? So because last time we have a meeting with him afternoon because we don't eat afternoon. So we don't drink milk. So he got the perception that we don't drink milk. So then he said, okay, you're not having milk. We said, no. Before midday, we are normal. We can drink milk. So after midday, we're abnormal. We can't eat milk. We can't drink milk. I said, before midday, it's okay. We can drink, we can eat whatever. We can have food. We can drink milk because milk is considered food. So we don't drink milk, after midday. So sometimes, it's normal. But the problem is we think that it's wrong. We think that things shouldn't go wrong. So because we don't understand being humans, being part in this whole cycle, because for Buddhists we believe in rebirth, the whole birth, the whole rebirth cycle, this whole cycle. So that is part of that. That's why the Buddha said that the suffering doesn't mean that we have lots of suffering. The Buddha said inherently unsatisfactory. We never get it right, no matter what we do, isn't it? Sometimes, like for example, whatever you do, sometimes you've been praised, sometimes you've been criticized, and it's normal. It's just impossible that you got all the praise all the time, so, isn't it? So that is normal. And sometimes we think that we shouldn't have problems, and we try to fix the problem, and your problem can never fix. You can always, you have others' problem again and again, So that's why if you don't understand that that is part of life, living in the world, that is part of that. Because a lot of things, like for example, we cannot control other people, isn't it? Even our own, relatives, our own parents, we cannot control. It's just recently there are some nuns that she spoke to me. She said that because of she's not come from a Buddhist background, like her parents couldn't understand why she became a nun and was very upset with her become a nun. So, and she feel very painful that it's not acceptable to her parents. So I said, yes. I said, that's why you can see that it's the Buddha's teaching of non-self. We cannot control, It's just like, I remember when my mom was very sick. She was dying. And it's very painful to look at her, that she suffered, but I really so helpless. I can't do anything at all. But it's just, we are not in control, isn't it? So sometimes the most painful part is that we couldn't accept the fact that we can't do anything because we think that we're in control. So we try very hard to control things. And yes, in theory, we accept that, we understand in theory, it's non-self, we can't control things, but deep down we still want to control, isn't it? And because the Buddha's teaching of non-self is non-self. So because, in theory we understand that, I should let go. I mean, yes, in theory, but, we need to practice. It will not happen overnight. It's just like we have to recondition ourselves, and we have to change the way we think, because we've been conditioned that way. We've been conditioned that we control everything. We control our children. We control our friends. We try to make things go according to the way we want it to be, isn't it? And then constantly we want others to live up to our expectation. And then we also expect ourselves, isn't it? We expect ourselves to live up to our own expectation. So we try to control, but we can't. And then we have no control, isn't it? Whether people praise us or people going to criticize us, isn't it? We cannot. So, but if we can't let that go, so ultimately, who is the one who suffer? We, isn't it? Because we cannot stop what other people said. We cannot control them. So, if we understand that, the more we reflect on that, we understand that, then we can let it go, little by little. We reflect on that. Each time we find ourselves couldn't let that go, we reflect, and then we let go little by little. So when we understand that it's just part of life, and it's no problem, no big deal, it's no worries, things goes wrong, it's okay, it's normal. So then we come, because it's easy that in theory we understand that, but we still not come to a place of acceptance. That is the difficult part. We do not accept the fact that we cannot control, but we still want to control. To come to a place of acceptance is very difficult. We have that resentment. We want to control. So then, if we understand that it's part of life, and that's why when we have problem, it's no big deal. We know that there is just, no matter what we do, we cannot always fix all the problems, solve all the problems. It's always there's something go wrong. Then because of our expectation, our suffering is come from our expectation, isn't it? We expect, things should be this way, should be that way, and it doesn't go according to what we expected to be. We got very upset. And then we start to question ourselves. We start to think that we are incapable, and we are just we are failure and all these things. So we start to question, because we think that things should go according to our wishes, go according to our expectation. So talk about expectation is remind me of a joke. There was a couple, and this couple is Sally and James. They're married for 20 years. So they've been married for 20 years. And the wife is Sally. She's been putting up with her husband James, because her husband James liked to eat baked beans. So he can't live without baked beans. He got to have baked beans every day. So every day he wants baked bean. So because of that, because of he having baked bean, and then he farts a lot. So the wife said, I couldn't stand anymore. I've been living with you for 20 years. I put up with you for 20 years. Now, no more. So the wife told her, from today's onwards, no more baked beans. I have enough. I have put up with you. I have enough. So no more baked beans from today's. So okay. Then after that, so what happened? He said, no, I can't live up baked bean. I have to have baked bean every day. So he came up with a brilliant idea. James, he said, okay. So he told his wife, he said, from today's onwards, because I want to slim down. I'm a bit too fat, I'm putting on weight, So I want to exercise a little bit. So today onwards, I'm going to walk to work. So morning he will walk. The shortcut. So then he go to work. When he come back from his work, he walk the long way. So that he stop by to a daily to have his baked bean, so that he have enough time. So he will fast along before he come go back. So that he get all this out. All the gas out. Before he reach home. So he did that. So one day the wife said to him. He said, okay, James, darling, today is a birthday, so make sure that you come back early. Okay, make sure that you come back early. Don't be late. Today is a birthday. It's a special day for you. So, because he has to come back early. So what to do? So he changed his schedule. Instead of going the shortcut to work, so and long way come back. So he has to take the shortcut to come back. But he still couldn't live without his baked bean. He still dropped by to get have his baked bean, Then he arrived home because it's just very short distance. This time he cannot take the long. He couldn't get all out. So he arrived home. Then he said, darling, okay, darling, today is your birthday. I'm busy cooking in the kitchen. So I have a surprise for you. But you need to put on your blindfold. So come. So the wife holding his hand and asked him to sit on the dining chair. So he's put on the blindfold. So okay, darling, I won't be long. I'm going to finish my cooking. So you just sit there and wait. So don't open up your blindfold. You just sit there and wait, So he's sitting there. Then he started to really fantasizing, what he's going to get. So the wife is going to cook him the food that he's really like, steak, and all this delicious food, yummy, he's all this fantasy, like expecting what he's going to get. So, and then all of a sudden he just feel this rumbling in the stomach, then he's like, what happened? Then he just slowly lift on his right side, and then he get his out, the air, he's get the air out. Then he sit down again. So okay, then he was waiting there. Then after a little while, again the stomach rumbling again. He said. Then he just lift the left side, and then let the gas out. And then he said, really stinging. Then he started to, this is really sting. Then he sit down again. And then again, non-stop, again another one is really, really sound so loud, it's really fast, so loud, and it's really sting. Then he get up, he's trying to, because then he said, darling, are you still there? Yes, I won't be long. He's still in the kitchen. Then he sit down. Then, so he keep doing that, so he's still worried about that it's really sting, so he's trying to get rid of the smell, Then after that, the wife came out, and then the wife put the hand around his neck. Said, okay, darling, I finished, so I give you the surprise, I'm going to open your blindfold. So when the wife opened his blindfold, and then the 6 of his best friend was in front of him looking at him. This is how we have all this, why sometimes when we worry is because of we have negativity towards future, isn't it? But even we have positive thinking, it's become we fantasize, isn't it? We think about all this good thing is going to happen. So because one of the reason whether we are positive or negative, in the future, so it's still, we're either fantasizing or we start to worry, isn't it? But we are not, the reason why, because we are not living in the moment. We place so much importance in the future that unknown, but rather than we stay in this moment and to look at the cause of the suffering come from the expectation. So when we expect so much, what is that come followed by that? When things doesn't work out, disappointment, isn't it? Because we expect things, we put in so much effort. And this is why, then if we understand this is part of life, then so when we're having any problem, then we start to, we don't start to blame others or to think that we are not good enough and start to beat ourselves up. We start to investigate, to look for the cause of the problem, isn't it? If we don't, sometimes we don't even see that there is problem, isn't it? We don't see that. If we don't see that, we will not try to find where is the cause of the problem, isn't it? So the problem is we think that we shouldn't have problem. So that is the problem, isn't it? So if we know that having problem is not a problem, no worries, it's okay. Then whenever we suffer, we investigate, you look at where is the cause of the suffering, where is this coming from? It's coming from our one thing. We want it to be this way, we want it to, we don't want to be otherwise. The Buddhas always said what you expect it to be is always otherwise. And we spend so much time, and this comes from our sense of self, our ego. That we try to control everything. We want the things go according to what you want it to be. And even though in theory we understand, but deep down we don't accept that. We still want to control. That is the problem. So there's like, when we not be able to look at our problems in life, objectively, so we can never investigate, we can never find the cause of our problem. Because we take it personally, come from the sense of self, me and mine, I want to be like that, I want this, I want that. And or craving not to be, I don't want this, isn't it? So then this is the problem, because we take it personally, we think that is, we identify the problem with ourselves. We think that we shouldn't have the problem, and that is me, that is mine, and there's something wrong with me. That's why sometimes people couldn't take it, because they just focus on themselves. They think that they're having, this is a really big deal, if this is not going to happen and that's the end. No. So our whole life, whatever happened to us is only part of our life. So life is not an end result. Life is a process. So we enjoy each moment, we enjoy the process. You see, nowadays I discovered that many people they're always living, they're always living in the future. They're always looking up, what is going to happen next, So when we constantly looking, what is going to happen next, and we not be able to enjoy what we already got right now. Just for example, is when I was in Singapore and I was invited to have lunch, so they took me to this restaurant and offer me lunch. And you know what? When the food come and they started to take picture, then they post on the Facebook. And this is how, rather than, just enjoy the food, because by the time you're taking all this picture, the food's already cold. And not be able to enjoy our food, isn't it? So we just, and people go to see this if I saw, sometimes some of these articles, and people going for this concert, and they're busy videoing, busy photo, taking photos, and rather than just enjoy, just being there, enjoy, the music. Sometimes it's not that we cannot enjoy life, we can, but without like craving for more, we just happy with that moment. If we be able to live in the moment, actually is really a bliss. It's very blessed. So a lot of people think that, a busy person is doing lots of things. Doing lots of things is not a busy person. A busy person, Ajahn Brahm used to say, is someone who do many things at one time. So if you do one thing at a time, you just enjoy the process, that moment. So because this is the reason why we are not living in the moment, then we start to worry and then we start to fantasize, isn't it? So or we carry the guilt that is happened in the past, or we always attach to the past. We say, nothing is as good as, those usually, people like to say, those old good days, attached to the past, still living in the past. So always remember all the old good days and not living the moment is already past, isn't it? So that's like we understand life is just a process, it's not an end result. So because if we constantly expecting something and we are not living in the moment, we miss out a lot. We will not be able to enjoy the food that we have. We will not be able to enjoy the moment that we have with our loved ones. Isn't it? Sometimes even we, with our loved one, we start to SMS and doing some other things. And I find it's strange, sometimes I sit down there and I see people sitting around the table and they don't talk to each other, they just and they're just not be able. Actually, it's a bliss if you be able to just be in that moment and be constantly because of our mind so busy. So it's very difficult to stop our mind. That's why we have to put this into practice every day. You have to train the mind to stop. So that is a way out. We can stop the mind. We can train the mind to stop. Like for example, when we try to rush from one room to another, we just stop for a few moments before we enter to the room. When, for example, whenever we notice that we are aware that we try to rush from one thing to another, then we just stop for 1 second. Can we do that? We can, isn't it? So you can train your mind to stop because the mind been too busy. They say sometimes people say, I can't, I very difficult to sit, very difficult to meditate. Of course, because the mind been busy, you cannot force the mind to stop immediately. But you have to get into the habit of not allowing the mind go into this old habit, rushing from one thing to another. So in our daily life, we try to stop 1 second each time we notice that. And then into the habit of stopping the mind. So the mind less busy. And you calm the mind down, calming the mind. So when the mind calms down, so you'll be able to live in this moment, to deal with things, in each moment. So actually we miss out a lot. So sometimes we always think that, only if I fix all the problem, then I can meditate. You can never fix all your problem. You can never. There is no such a place that, that you fix all the problems and then become just happy all the time. No, you don't have such a problem. You don't have such a place that's called happiness all the time. We all always living between happiness and suffering, isn't it? When our suffering ends, we feel happy, isn't it? So when our happiness ends, we suffer. But that is part of life, being a human, So if we accepted that, we recognize that. But the problem, sometimes we don't even recognize that. So if we don't recognize that, we can't deal with the problems, the suffering, the problems in life. Only you recognize that, then only you'll be able to deal with your problems in life. So the work outside can never end. The suffering outside can never end. We can never end the suffering outside. Sometimes we think that our suffering is come from outside. No. The suffering ends within ourselves. The suffering come from the holding on. So sometimes we find ourselves that, very agitated, very irritated, and very grumpy and very upset. We ask ourselves, what are we holding on? So sometimes we think that our problem is outside, and then we try to fix all the problem outside. You can never fix the Buddha said, if our problems come from outside, none of us can get enlightened. Because you can never fix the problem outside. You can only end the suffering within yourself. And I remember someone told me, said, I don't know why, my work never ends, I always so much work to do. Then I told this person, I said, if you can end your work, so your boss is not going to employ you. Isn't it? It's going to end in no work, and they're not going to employ you. I said, the work outside you can never end, but we can end the works within ourselves, to look inside. But we always think the problem is outside. And this is how we constantly think that, is outside. Then when things go wrong, rather than looking at what we're holding on. And this also reminds me of one of the jokes. There's 3 brothers. And these 3 brothers, one is Tom, and one is Dick, and one is Harry. Tom, Dick, and Harry. So these 3 brothers, and 3 of them had their own girlfriends. And these 3 brothers, they have never met their girlfriends before. So So then they know that the brothers had the girlfriends, but they never met each other. So one day, when Dick and Harry the two of them were out, and they saw Tom with his girlfriend, and two of them looked at his girlfriend. They're really shocked. Said, "Oh my dear, oh my God, how come Tom girlfriend so ugly? It's horrible." Then they went to ask, and then they said, "How come he's such a good-looking man? The girlfriend is so ugly." And they went to ask God. They went to ask God. He said, "Why Tom having such an ugly girlfriend?" So the God reply was, "Because he killed one ant. Then he was being punished to have an ugly girlfriend." So and then another day, and after a few days later, and Tom and Harry, met Dick's girlfriend, and this time two of them really shocking. Oh, she's even uglier than Tom's girlfriends. He said, "What happened? It's so ugly." And then they went to ask God. God said, "Oh, because Dick killed two ants. So then he was being punished that got an uglier girlfriend." Then after that, sometimes later, then Tom and Dick eventually met Harry's girlfriends, and they're really shocked. And his girlfriend is so pretty and so beautiful, like Miss Universe. They said, "Oh, how come he deserves such a beautiful girl?" Then they asked God. They said, "Why, Harry has such a beautiful girlfriend?" And God's answer was, God's reply was, "Because his girlfriend killed many, many ants." And sometimes we think that we got to solve. Sometimes we think that we have to put up with this person, we have to put up that person, and we have so much problem, and we don't really see, that what we're holding on. Sometimes that, but of course, it's easy that I ask you to let go, isn't it? It's easy to say and done, but of course you need to train. That's why there is a way out. That is to being a virtuous person, keeping the precept. There's a morality, because being a virtuous person, morality is the keeping precept actually is training of the mind. Of course, we won't keep it, perfectly. It's fine. The Buddha said this is a gradual training. You train little by little. So maybe we not be able to keep it perfectly. It's fine. If we be able to keep one precept, it's fine. Then we improve. We keep 2 and then 3 and 4 and 5, isn't it? So we improve ourselves each time. So if we make mistake, it's okay. We exercise this forgiveness, forgive ourselves. And so because morality is important to support a peaceful mind. Because when we have done something that we feel that is not quite right, it's really bother us, isn't it? It's the mind very difficult to calm down. So that's why we need the support. The morality, we need the support, the morality to support the peaceful mind. So if we meditate, so keeping the precept, being a good person, and then a peaceful person, to develop wisdom. So the only way we can help ourselves, no one can help us, we can only help ourselves by develop our own wisdom to solve our problems in life. So even the Buddha right in front of us, he can't help us. He can only point out the way. Ultimately, like the last talk I said, Buddhism is a DIY religion. So that's why you see Buddhism is really, is really up to date. It's even though it's 2,500 years ago, but it's still, nowadays, it's a trend, isn't it? DIY. So that's why the Buddha is still, so keep up with this trend, DIY. So you apply this, you put it into practice to develop your own wisdom. And that no one can take it away from you to solve your problem, because we can't solve others' problem. We can only solve our own problems. That's why sometimes we have people come to us, have problems like young girls with problems with drugs and things like that. Then I told them, I said, even though I would like to help you as much, I would love to help you. I really would like to help you, but you have to help yourself. Isn't it? You have to be willing to help yourself. It's no point that I try to help you, try to pull you up. But if you don't want to help yourself, what can I do? Isn't it? I can't help you if you don't have the willingness, to determine that I'm going to pull myself up. And no matter how much I try to give her the support and try to give her the care, the kindness, the compassion. But ultimately, I said, you have to do the work. You have to help yourself. So we have this teaching. So all you need to do to put into practice. Of course, it will not happen overnight. It takes time. It's a gradual training. So we have to retrain the mind. We have to recondition the mind. Recondition the change the usual way of thinking. It's difficult, isn't it? Old habit die hard. Even I discover myself, like I stopped doing certain things. Then even after a while, you do this. You go back the whole way of doing things, isn't it? You still fall back the old ways. It's okay because it's just like when we change our way of thinking, it's just like the stream of water like flowing to the right side. So if you want to change the way of thinking, it's just like changing the way of the water flow, isn't it? Rather than flow to this side, we try to channel. So we have to dig another channel, isn't it? To channel it to the other side, So of course, sometimes the water flow the other side, but sometimes you still discover that the water will flow a little bit back to the original channel, isn't it? So because the channel is not deep enough, so the practice is just like you have to dig a new channel. So because it's not deep enough, so all we need to do, we need to deepening our practice. So until that is deep enough that it don't fall back. So it's okay. Sometimes that not to question, not to think that I have no progress. Sometimes we used to look at what we haven't achieved yet, but we never look at how far we have come to, what we have already achieved. So sometimes it's good that you appreciate. The Buddha always encourages us to appreciate ourselves, to look at the goodness that we have done, to appreciate ourselves, to respect ourselves. And sometimes we always think that we are not good enough because we always looking at what haven't done yet, but we don't look at how far we have come to and what we have achieved. So of course sometimes it's still there, like this old habitual pattern is still there, because as a Buddhist we believe in rebirth, because it's many lifetimes, because some of those habitual patterns not even come from this lifetime, come from previous life. So just imagine, you think we can just done with this old habitual pattern just within a few years or few months? Even, you can't. Even those don't believe in rebirth and those conditionings since we were born, we have the kind of a certain way of thinking, a certain way of, we have this old conditioning. We can't change it, isn't it, within a few years? We have that for many, many years since we were born. So it takes time. It's a gradual training. So all we need to do is we have to keep practicing and deepening our practice. So I offer this for your reflection, and may this teaching be of benefit to all of you. So any questions or comments? So this person asked, what is dukkha or suffering? Because the Buddha said the first noble truth is, the Buddha said life is dukkha. Dukkha in Pali. But a lot of translations that They translate as suffering. But I personally prefer to use that is inherently unsatisfactory. So sometimes we can find ourselves like in a very difficult situation. Whatever decision we make, we are not going to solve the problem, isn't it? There's not always easy solution, isn't it? Like I remember some times ago, we have a question someone asked. So he said that as a Buddhist, we want to keep the precept like non-harming, not killing. But my house has termites. What am I going to do with this? I can't just let the termite to eat up my whole house, isn't it? I have to do something about it. So that's why the Buddha said life is inherently unsatisfactory because of we cannot avoid to live on the expense of others. No matter what we do, even we build something that is it cause a lot of damage, isn't it? But we can only do our best. It's always come back to our intention. So we cannot make things, we can, whatever we do, even we do the right thing, it's not going to be perfect. So they said the Buddha said inherently unsatisfactory. So so the only way the Buddha said to get out of the samsara is not to be reborn. Because this is part of life, like a package, You've been born in the samsara, that is a whole package that is inherently unsatisfactory. Inherently that is not going to solve all your problems in life. There is always a problem. And we cannot avoid that whatever we do, it causes damage to others, The only way out, the Buddha said, is not to be reborn. So that's why the Buddha said, is suffering. The first one, no matter we do, we can only do our best. That's all we can do. So not to be reborn, that is a way to not to suffer. Because that is part of being human. That's part of being in this whole cycle of rebirth. So any more questions or comments? Okay.
And what about the house? We let them eat the house, or what?
There's like this is one of the reasons why people like to come to ask the monks or nuns questions, because they don't want to take responsibility. Oh, the monk says so, the nun says so, then So we always throw the ball back to them. So we give them the advice. It's okay, that's part of it, that you have to make your own decision. So that we have to understand there is no easy solution. I'm not going to say that this is right or this is wrong. Sometimes things is not black and white. The problem is we've been conditioned. We always want black and white. Sometimes there's no black and white. So then you said you have to decide yourself but always go back to your intention. Do you have an intention to harm anyone? That is the most important thing. So sometimes we cannot avoid. Like for example, we have this building project. When we clear the land, a lot of creatures die. But we need to have the facilities to accommodate more nuns, to train more nuns, to teach, to give teaching, to help more people. So this is how life, unsatisfactory. We can't really kiss the world. We can't really, sometimes that is some of the decision that we have to make. That is very painful decision that we have to make. That is part of life. There is no easy solution. That's why the Buddha said the first noble truth, inherently unsatisfactory. Sometimes whatever decision we make, it's not going to please everyone, isn't it? We can't please everyone, and basically we just can't really solve all the problems in life. So that's why always we go back to the intention. So we ask ourselves, do I have the intention to cause any hurt or harm to others? That is because what the Buddhist in our monks and nuns, we have our rules. What we consider is we transgress the rule. For example, like killing, you have to fulfill 5 conditions. You have to have the motive. You have the intention to kill, and then you have to have the object, the person that the things, the person that you kill, and then you have to have the action, and then you have to complete the action. So there's 5 conditions have to fulfill, then it's considered a killing. Is that answer your question? Yeah, because you have to fulfill the 5 conditions. You have to have the person that doing the killing, and then the object, the motivation, intention, the object, the action, and have to be completed. Like for example, even though you have the intention to kill your girlfriend, and then but halfway think, oh, I think that she's still quite lovely, she's okay. Oh, you change your mind, you're not going to kill him. So even you have the intention, but it's not complete, isn't it? So then you have to fulfill all the 5 conditions. Then you can say that is fulfill the conditions that you carry out the action, the killing. Any more questions or comments? Yes.
Hello.
Yeah.
I've just got a question, because I feel that when the term used, life is suffering, I feel it is quite negative. In my experience, I feel that life is bliss.
Yeah.
And it's only suffering when people have rubbish chucked on their front door that they don't even accept or know how to deal with or don't want to even look at. And that's really the only way that I find that I suffer. So what is your view on this?
To me, it's a lot of people that misinterpret that actually the Four Noble Truths is not about that suffering and you got to suffer. No. Actually, it's a happy path. The Buddha just point out to us why we suffer, because we don't understand suffering. That's why we suffer. If we understand, we suffer less. You know what I mean? Because we don't see that it's a suffering. Then we keep doing things that hurting ourselves and hurting others. But if we see that this is hurting, we don't do it. The point is, people just don't even know what causes them suffer and the suffering to themselves and to others. They don't see that. So actually, this is a happy path. There is a way out. There is an ending. The Buddhists talk about, you understand the suffering, then you find out the cause of suffering, then it is an ending of suffering, and there is a way out of suffering. So it's a happy path. But people just sometimes when someone is negative, you can interpret it in a negative way. You know, when you look at it, actually it's a positive. Like for example, when we said that, we reflect on impermanence, to reflect on we are going to die, and sometimes people worry about they're going to die, they're going to get sick, things like that. But actually, when the Buddha asks us to reflect on that, to remind ourselves, actually, it's not being pessimistic, actually it's being positive, so that we fully make use of what we got right now. So we become more appreciative. Each moment, we appreciative, to our family, so we don't waste the time. We spend whenever we have time, whenever we are with our family, we be with them fully, This moment we spend our time, so not, we go back to visit our families and then we start doing this, not really talking to our family, spend time with them. Then it's not appreciative, because we know that we don't know how long we're going to live, we don't know whether we're going to see them tomorrow. So we make the most of it while we got it. Actually, it's very positive, and actually it's being appreciative of life. So we don't waste our life into the future, and then carry the guilt about the past, the things that we have done, So we treasure each moment. We become more appreciative. Actually, it's very positive. So is that answer your questions? Yes. Okay.
Ajahn Hasapana, just now you mentioned about when things happen, the way not to our expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you explain all the different ways to solve the problem. Yeah. What came to my mind was mindfulness, Mindfulness. And the opposite of mindfulness, which is excessive thinking. You got it? Yeah. So like if you're in mindful, this thing, okay, we can control the situation. Opposite of that is, because most of us, when things don't come our way, we make a mountain of a mole. We have all this excessive thinking, we exaggerate things, and then because how they say, anger, fear all arise and all the suffering.
So
that's what came to my mind. You explain all the things, yeah.
Okay. Beside mindfulness, you have to have a stillness. You have to have the strength of mind to stop. I remember someone said to me, I'm really mindful of what I'm doing. I'm really mindful. So I remember many years ago, I was still a lay person, and I couldn't bite back my tongue. I said to him, you aware that you're always so angry? I said, of course I'm aware that I'm angry. I'm just watching my anger coming up, my anger. So I said, oh yeah, you're just aware of your anger, and then eventually you kill someone. You just aware is not enough. You have to be able to stop that. The Buddha said that there is morality, the Buddha said cultivation of the mind. Cultivation of the mind have three aspects. The three aspects is mindfulness, stillness, be able to, right effort. When we have unwholesome thoughts, we have to put an effort to stop it. Not to allow unwholesome thoughts to arise. When the unwholesome thoughts already arise, we try to abandon the unwholesome thoughts. But we can't abandon the unwholesome thoughts. We replace the thoughts. That's why a lot of people, because sometimes the thinking is too intense, and it's very difficult to stop it. So if you try too hard, if you try to use willpower to stop, it's become counterproductive. Then you replace the wholesome thinking, the positive thinking. So and then you allow the positive thinking, to feel in your heart. So that it's just like if constantly your house has someone staying in the house, the robbers will come in. You feel with this wholesome, when you feel with these positive thinkings, wholesome thoughts, the unwholesome thoughts couldn't get in. So that is the effort. So actually a lot of people mix up with they say, oh, you ask us to calm the mind, to still the mind, and then you want us to put in effort, the effort to stop. But we always the other way around. We put effort to do things, isn't it? To get things, isn't it? It's not. You put in effort to stop. It's not to put in effort to get more things, to do things, to still the mind. It's because sometimes even we know that, for example, anger arises. Sometimes we couldn't stop it and we couldn't bite back our tongue. We still said something when we're upset. Even we're aware of that, but we just don't have the strength to hold, isn't it? To hold ourselves that no. That's why you got to have these three aspects. Just mindful enough, just to aware is not enough. So you have to have three aspects there. To have the right effort to stop it, to hold it, and to aware of that. That's why if we don't even aware that, we don't even know that we are suffer. So how come we deal with, how come we be happy, isn't it? We don't even know that we suffer, isn't it? And then we keep doing things like hurting ourselves, hurting others. And then we don't change the way of doing things, and then we expect that we have to have a different result. So we have to put in the cause but not keep looking at the results. So you have to have three aspects. You have to have the three factors there.
Thank you, Ajahn Hasapana. One more question. Do you believe in blessing in disguise? Sometimes things happen that it doesn't, not the way we want plan, but it's a blessing in disguise when it is difficult at that moment. But
Yeah.
later on we think, that helped you.
Yeah, there's sometimes things doesn't work out. It's okay. For example, if your girlfriend leave you, and it's okay, maybe you get a better one. Isn't it? So don't worry, no worries, So it's okay, things doesn't work out, maybe it's just like you said, blessing in disguise, you get a better one.
Thank you.
Okay. So any more questions or comments?
Yeah, how you going?
Thank you. Yes?
Yeah,
Good.
mine's more actual comment. I'd actually like to say, thank you for being here and sharing what you learn and what you understand. It's my first time here, and I've just found it incredibly beautiful and harmonious. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome. It's my pleasure. So is it no more questions? Okay, go, gone.